All right, hello, my name is Brandon Clayton, the Algebra Guy, and as you see on your screen, we are talking about mean, median, and mode. We're going step by step talking about mean, median, and mode. So what is that? So here's an example on the screen of what median is, and you probably get a good idea just by looking at it or knowing what a median is and understanding that word. But let's go ahead and start with our questions that we want to answer for today. So here are the questions. What is mean, median, and mode, and how do we find them given a set of numbers? So we're going to go through each one at a time, basically in that order, answering those questions. So what is mean? So mean, let's think about it this way. The mean is often called the arithmetic average. So it's really just an average of numbers. It's not that you're saying that somebody's mean. You know, that's another way we could use that word, like someone's being not nice or, mean. These guys are being mean. So we're not talking about that. We're actually talking about an average that you'll have. Now, likely you'll see this talked about as a student, if you're a student right now, with grades, because you'll take an average of your grades. So how is it computed? It's computed by dividing the number of values by the number of values. So we'll look at that here now. Like, let's say for instance we had let me see if I put an example here. Yeah, here we go. So suppose Ethan's first three test scores were 85, 88, and 94. To find the mean score, he would add them all up and divide by 3. So let's act like this is his report card. So he had an 85, an 88, and a 94. And he wondering, what is his average? What is his, actually, instead of saying average, I'm going to say, what is his mean? What is the mean of these numbers? So to work this, we're going to need to, it's computed by dividing the sum. So we're going to find the sum and then divide it. So what's the sum of all these when we add them up? Let's get a different color. 8 and 4 is 12. 12 and 5 is 17. So let me make sure I draw a line here and put a big plus sign. So that's 17. Let me double check. Is that 9? Yep, 17. So add this up. 8 and 8 is 16. Plus 1 is 17. Plus 9 is, what did I say, 17. So 9 is 26. Let me double check that. So that's 10. Yep. So 10 plus 16 is 26. So I got 267. So look at this formula that we have here. So all you do is take the sum of all those values and divide it by some number of values you have. How many do we have? We have 1, 2, 3. So n is going to stand for the number of values that you're looking at. So since we have 3, we're going to take 267, that total number, and divide it by 3. And that's going to give us, let's see, 24, 2, 7, 3 goes into 27 9 times. There it is right there. And a lot of times it doesn't come as a perfect whole number. It may have a decimal, but you get the idea. His average is an 89. So that's how your average is calculated. That's what's going on behind the scenes. And you can actually do this math yourself if you're trying to figure out what your average is going to be or is currently. And there you go. So how do we find mean? So I just showed you that, but here's, if you want to step by step, we write the formula out. Find the sum. I'm just going to get rid of that. So write this. Find the sum of all the values in the set. Write the sum on the numerator. Count the numbers. Simplify this fraction. Check to see what that means. So we're going to go by step and do those. So first we're going to find the sum of these numbers. Let me go back and find the sum of these numbers. What is 8, 12, what is all this added up? Should have my calculator be a lot faster. 8 and 12 is 20. 20 plus 15 is 35. 35 plus these two is 15. So 35 plus 15 looks like that's going to give us a 50. So we're going to take that sum, right? So the sum of all these go on top. And I'm going to write it out for you so you can see what just happened. Just add up all these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got them all. And we're going to divide by how many there are. So there's 5 of them. And when we divide, or at least when we add them up, we get 50. And we divide by how many numbers there were, which is 50. I'm sorry, which is 5. This is a 0. 50 divided by 5 gives me a 10. That's our average. Now, there's no context around this, but let's say these were the temperatures, that for the last 5 days. So the average temperature over the last 5 days in this case would be 10 degrees. So just to give it some context, but that's really how you will find the average. Keep in mind that your average number needs to be somewhere in the middle between your lowest number, which in this case is a 6, and the highest number, a 15. Make sure that's right. Yeah. So just to kind of eyeball, you always want to have some light way of checking your work to make sure it's reasonable. So an average, since it is the middle number, after adding everything up and finding an average, is going to be somewhat middle number. You want to make sure it's above your lowest and below your highest, so it actually makes sense. All right, so let's do another one. The ages of the members of a family who got together for a birthday celebration were as follows. All these here, and 97 years. Find the mean average. So we got all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, how do we find the mean? So first, we write the formula for the mean. So here it is. Sum of all the numbers divided by the number there are. Then we're going to write the sum of the numbers in the numerator, as you see here, and divided by that total number. Count how many there are. So since we got 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, we're going to divide it by 8, and you can guess what we're going to do next. We're going to add them all up. And just to save some time here, because I know you can add or use a calculator, just add them all up. 476 divided by 8 is what we're going to get there. And we're not done, because we're going to do the math. And when you actually do the math, you're going to get up a decimal of 59.5. Now, the question is this typical? And the reason I'm asking is this typical is going back to what I said earlier. It needs to be within that range. Think of the lowest number and the highest number, and you ask yourself, is 59 within that range? So that should be typical. And in this case, it looks like it is. So we're going to say, yes, it's neither less than 16 nor is greater than 97. So that means the age is 59. The mean is 59 and a half years. Let's try another one. I'm using this cell phone bill. For the past 4 months, Daisy's cell phone bill was as follows: $42.75, $50.12, $41.54, and $48.15. The mean cost of her daily cell phone bills. Now, this might be interesting because you may be trying to budget how much money you should put aside, and it keeps changing, but at least you can get an average of about where it's been, and maybe add a few more dollars to it just to be safe. So this will at least get you started. So how would we do that? Well, the same way we did the other one. First, we're going to think about the formula or write it down, and we're going to start filling in the pieces we need. We know we have 4 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, so we can place that with M. Then we're going to add up all those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. It helps sometimes to put them in order, but you don't have to. You can just add all these up. When you do, you get 182.56. You're going to divide that by how many numbers we got. And when you divide, you get 45.64. And so that's the average bill cost that she has. So does it make sense? Is it typical? Let's see. Well, is it within that range? My smallest number, yes, it's neither less than 41, which is the smallest, nor is it greater than 50, which is the largest. So an average should be somewhere in that middle range. So yes, it's typical. It makes sense. Let's move on to median. So we talked about mean being the average. What about median? Well, before I even get into this problem and the discussion of median, if you're ever on a road, let's say this is a road, and there's another road over here, and cars are just driving by. Let me see if I can draw. Man, that's a terrible car. Okay, what does a car look like from up top? I guess kind of a square, right? That's why I teach math and not art. So this is a car, it's driving this way. There's another car driving this way. But in between those two cars, what do you have? Yep, you guessed it. This area right here is called a median. So that may help you if you already knew that word. If not, then there's a new word you just learned. But the area in the middle is called a median. And we're going to keep that meaning because median does actually mean middle. So let's see how we're going to use it here. So when Anne, Bianca, Dora, Eve, and Francine sing together on stage, they line up in order of their heights. Their heights in inches are shown in the table below. So let's look at this table. So here are their heights. And we want to know what the mean is. So Dora's in the middle of the group. Her height is 60. I'm sorry, did I say mean? Median. So who's the median? So in this case, if you line them up in order, and that's important for median, they have to be in order from least to greatest. We're going to look for the middle number, and Dora is the median of this group. Her height is 65. Is the median of the girl's height. Half of the heights are less, and half the heights are greater. It's right there in the middle. So the median is the middle value. Pretty simple, right? Not a lot of math required, but mostly vocabulary in your thinking. Now, let's take that same problem, and what if Carmen, a pianist, joins the singing group on stage, and she's 62 inches tall? Now the question is, who's the median? Or what is the median, should I say? So what is the median? So first thing we're going to do is put these numbers in order, which they already are. So let's look at these numbers. Where would you say the median is if you were to guess? Now I'm hoping you said it was in between 62 and 65. If you remember, that's the picture we showed and the opener. But it's in between because you can't pick both, right? It's going to be a number in between here. And so how do we figure that number out? To figure that number out, we're actually going to have to find the average. So we'll have to say 62 plus 65 and divide by 2. So let me just double check. 62, 65, and this is going to be 127. 127 divided by 2, 6, it's 12, and we're going to bring down to 7 here. 7, 2 goes into 7, 6, 3 times, sorry. And we got 1, make a decimal here, 0 here, but a decimal here. And 2 goes into 10 5 times, so 63.5. So all we needed to do was add those two numbers and find the number in between those two to give us our median. Well, why was this one different? Well, because this had an even number of values, so we had to find a number that would split them. Before we had an odd number, before Carmen showed up, we could just pick the middle number. But now we don't have a middle number. We have to find a middle number by finding the average of the two numbers in the middle. So in general, when the number of values is odd, like this one was, I'm sorry, the first one was, the median will be the one value in the middle. So we have one value in the middle. But when it's even like this, 3 and 3 is 6, we have to come up with that by finding the mean of those middle values. So let's try ourselves. What's the median of this one? So what's the median of this one? So I will encourage you to pause it and you try to work it here before I do. What's the median? So first thing we need to do is what? Put them in order. So let's put them in order from least to greatest. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's not forget we got 7 total. So we got 9 is the smallest. And going up from 9 is 11. Then 12, 13, 18, I forgot 15, 15, 18, 19. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have an odd number. So the fact that we do have an odd number tells us that we're going to have 1 in the middle. So it should be easy to find because here's 3 and here's 3 numbers. So the one right in the middle is our median, and that would be 13. So it's that simple. All right, what about this one here? Kristen received the following scores on her weekly math quiz. We'll find her median. So median is going to, again, put those in order. And someone may be asking, what's the importance of knowing median? So later on, when we're looking at a lot of data for statistics or probability, it helps us understand where the middle is in all these numbers. And does it correspond with the rest of the data? Because sometimes you may have a number that's like way out there, and by taking the middle number, you can kind of get an idea of how many numbers on the left and right of that. So it just helps to make sense. So we'll just stick with finding the median now, and we'll get into that maybe another time. So let's put these in order. Lowest one, I'm looking at this, it looks like 64. Yep, so we're going to do 64 as our lowest. Let me cross that so I don't use it again. And 83. Oh no, what am I doing? 80s. Got 70s in here. So we got 76. And then 79. And then 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, and 100. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we accomplished our first step. We put them in order. Now we notice we got an even number. So what is that telling us? That's telling us that our median is going to be right in the middle of two numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This must be the middle right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it must be between 85 and 86. What splits 85 and 86? Well, we really don't have to do much work here, because right in the middle of 85 and 86, we know this. We can split that in half, 85.5. Now, if you didn't see that already, you could do the math. 85, 86, and divided by 2, and you're going to get 85.5. So now we know our median score is 85.5. So the important thing to understand is that when you have even numbers, don't try to pick a number there. Just find the middle number. Even if it's not up there, you just have to find the mean, or that middle number. What about mode? Let's do one more. Mean, median, and now mode. So mode is a set of numbers. The mode of a set of numbers is a number that occurs the most. That's it. So how do we remember mode? Because it looks just like most. Mode and most are pretty similar. So mean, I guess you could just remember that the average, but median helps us understand that it's the middle, because you got the middle of the two roads. But mode is just which one comes up the most. So the frequency is the number of times a number occurs. So the mode of a set of numbers is the number with the highest frequency. So let's look at some examples. Suppose Jolene kept track of the number of miles she ran since start of the month. Here is her number of miles she ran. So on Thursday she ran 2 miles, Saturday 15 miles, Sunday 8 miles, Tuesday 3 miles, and so on and so forth. So we're going to want to ask, what's the mode? Which number comes up most often? So, they want to go that. So which number comes up most often? So we're doing 2 miles on Thursday, 15 miles, 8 miles, 3 miles, 8 miles, 5 miles, and 8 miles. So if we were to put this data, and you don't necessarily have to put this in order, but notice that 8, 8, 8 came up 3 times. So my answer to this will be 8 miles. It's that simple. It's the data that showed up the most out of the rest of the data. So that's my mode. So look at the ages of students in the college math class here. So find the mode here. Now these numbers are already put in order. That's a lot of numbers, I know. But can you find the mode? I'll give you a second to do that. Pause it if you need to. Well, if I put them on a chart and I map the frequency, and I said age 18 comes up 4 times, 19 comes up 3 times, age 20 comes up 7, and 21 2, and so on, you would quickly be able to see that the mode is 7. I'm sorry, not the mode is 7. The mode is 20, because 20 appears the most. So let me make sure I reiterate that. The mode is 20 because it comes up the most, not 7. 7 is how often it came up, but the number that came up the most often is our mode. All right, can we do the same thing with this one? Look at this data. And this is what happens a lot in statistics. You take a lot of data and you try to make sense of it and say which one is happening the most, the least, the middle. So what's the mode here? Well, it's maybe kind of hard to see in this format, but if I put it like this, I bet you could figure it out pretty quickly. So we took all those numbers and we told you the frequency by which they came up, and you can see that the highest frequency is not 1. We got 6, 5. It looks like it's 6, the highest frequency. So our mode is going to be 67. 67 will be our mode because that came up the most often. Pretty simple, right? So mean, median, and mode. Mean is our average. Go back. Thank you. So mean is our average. And median, we remember because it's in the middle. This is our middle number. And mode is the one that comes up the most, the highest frequency. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. My name is Brandon Clayton, the Algebra Guy, and I will see you next lesson.